Hey guys, Sean from Next Step Product Strategy here, back with another product review video to break down successful products to help make it easier for you to make your product successful. Today, what we're going to take a closer look at is the product Clarity.fm. For those that don't know, Clarity is an online marketplace where startup founders can go to get advice from experts for what they are specifically trying to solve. So let's take a closer look at the site and dive in a little bit deeper. So here you can see the Clarity website. First things first, we said Clarity was an online marketplace to connecting founders to experts. So how well does that match? Well, the first thing that I'm met with when I'm on their homepage is a tagline that says startup advice from world-class experts. So I'd say that matches up pretty well. And here we've got an image, persona of an individual, ideally a founder and or CEO who has used the Clarity product or service before, and a couple of calls to action. More importantly, large green button for Find Your Expert, which I like a lot, especially if someone's coming to the site looking for advice. Alright, so what problem is Clarity looking to solve? Well, based on everything that they've built here, clearly they're looking to offer expert advice to those who seem to need it most. I can speak firsthand myself because I've been in this situation and I even am currently, but as a startup founder, it can be very difficult to get the kind of advice you need, especially when you need it. Clarity really simplifies that problem. So this is the problem that Clarity appears to be trying to solve. So what does competition look like for Clarity? Well, there's a number of other products out there. In particular, I've pulled up one of them, and we'll take a closer look at it here. This one's called On Frontiers. And it's similar, it's got a relatively similar style, and they're trying to solve a similar problem. There's a number of products out there like this one. In particular, we're going to talk about some specific things I want to call attention to. Like if you scroll down a little bit on the On Frontiers page, specifically where they're talking about how it works, the implementation component, I really like the diagram that they have here. I think it's pretty straightforward and it's a bit simpler than what's on Clarity's page. So let's compare it to what Clarity's doing. So if I scroll down a little further on the Clarity website, I see a how it works section, and it's not too dissimilar, but it's a little bit crowded and a little bit confusing for me. I understand why they did it this way, but I'd really rather they simplified this, similar to how On Frontiers has done it. So that's one main difference I would compare between the two competitors. Okay, so who is the Clarity product targeted to? Well, as we can see, as the branding, the wording, and the messaging they have on the site here, it's clearly targeted towards startups, founders, any type of early stage business owner. So what else can we understand from the audience they're going after based on the branding, marketing, and messaging itself? Well, from the homepage itself, we can see a couple of small tags right above that large call to action button, and it's got a couple of topics in there which we can ideally search for experts in those topics. So a couple of them listed you may be able to see is fundraising, marketplaces, interestingly enough, social media marketing, email marketing, community building. So it starts to give you an idea what type of topics and what kind of content is on here, what type of experts I can find, and the problems that I can get help with solving. So how does Clarity make money? Well, I've used the product before myself personally, and so have a number of my colleagues. Clarity makes money by you finding and booking a time to speak with an expert for which their prices are advertised, and Clarity takes a piece of the ultimate transaction. So whatever you end up, however much time you end up spending talking to said expert, most of that is going to go to them. Clarity is going to take a piece of that transaction. That's essentially their revenue model. It's a great revenue model. It scales with demand, and it's very straightforward because it's something that most people are relatively comfortable with at this point. So let's take a closer look at how Clarity advertises their prices. If I click Browse, in here I can see any number of profiles for individuals considered to be experts or advanced in various topics for which I may need help. They've got titles, descriptions, and all kinds of information relative to their profile. But one interesting component is how Clarity advertises the prices. They do it on a per minute basis. This is a good move on their part because for the consumer it makes it seem like the prices are a lot lower than they actually are. Whereas in reality when they scale up, they seem a bit more expensive. So as you can see here, this profile has it advertised as $3.33 a minute, which seems kind of low until I think about that on an hourly perspective, which scales up to $200 an hour. So how well does the pricing model for the Clarity product line up with how their target market spends money? Well, we already know it's being targeted at startups, but one other thing we also know about startups is they don't always have a lot of money to throw around. So one positive aspect of this is startups can get the kind of advice they need when they need it in as few as 15-minute increments, which is actually relatively flexible. Most experts that you want to get advice from, they're going to make you bite off larger pieces than that, so you may be spending more money than you necessarily need to. So that's an area where it fits well with their target market. However, because startups don't have a lot of money to spend, some of them may not be using the product as consistently as Clarity may wish them to be. So maybe there's an opportunity here to market this towards established startups, or startups that aren't as close to that idea phase, maybe startups that have raised funding, that can afford to spend a certain amount on the type of advice that they need. So what's the user experience of the Clarity product like? Well, I've used it myself, so have a number of my colleagues, and I can tell you that the technology they use is fairly advanced, and most of the process is almost fully automated. So it runs very well, and it's pretty seamless. So how is the Clarity product marketed, and how are they going to grow? So clearly, as I mentioned before, I've used it, a number of my colleagues have used it, and a lot of people that I know in the startup community are either aware of it or have used it themselves. So they do a good job targeting the global startup community. One really interesting way in which Clarity is attempting to grow their platform is they're encouraging experts that are on their platform, if they're able to book calls via any other technology, to funnel them to Clarity's system. This is a win-win for Clarity and the expert because they both make more money. That's a really creative way to grow. I like it as an idea. So what are any missed targets that Clarity is not taking advantage of? Well, as I showed you the compare and contrast between them and one of their competitors, I think their How This Works diagram on the homepage could be simplified a bit, or broken up into a couple different sections. That might lead to a little bit more scrolling, but I think it's going to be easier for people to digest. What are some potential missed marketing opportunities? So Clarity targets pretty aggressively the startup crowd. However, as we said before, sometimes the startup crowd doesn't necessarily have enough discretionary funding in order to be able to afford experts, at least on a consistent basis. Clarity is really on to something here. They've been growing pretty aggressively, and they've been delivering a lot of value for a lot of people. However, with the startup challenges being particularly capital related, I think there's an opportunity to potentially expand this product into new markets both vertically and horizontally. Who knows if you can target essentially established startups? I think there's also a possibility to expand this product even to the corporate users. I'm sure lots of corporate employees and individuals would love to have access to the kind of expertise that you can get on the Clarity platform right now for startups to help them be more successful in their career. So I'd be curious to see how Clarity is addressing these potential undiscovered or other areas of the market for which there's opportunity. So there you have it, guys. That's our product review breakdown of Clarity.fm. Now that you know some of the things that they've been doing for them to be successful, you can incorporate those into building your own products to make it even more successful. Thanks for watching our video, and keep disrupting.